Saga of a New World, Book 1, Dawn of the New World. Chapter 1, Dusk of the Old World. Astrid takes a deep breath, leans against the window, and turns her attention to the passing landscape. Oak, spruce, beech, and bushes are a single wall of green that's occasionally broken by a yellow ray of sunlight. She squirms in her seat. The position itself is comfortable, but as soon as the young woman places her head on the cold glass, she feels the vibrations of the vehicle. The droning in her skull quickly becomes unbearable, and Astrid can't stand it for a minute before straightening her spine once more and nestling her head against the black fabric of the backrest. Her little brother Elijah is sitting to her left. Bright colors reflect off his eyes. With headphones jacked in, he's focused on the movie in his phone. Killian is sitting at the other window. Her older brother is pressing his long legs against the back of the driver's seat, and with them he supports a red paperback book. Her father occupies the driver's seat. Stiff and completely focused, he has his eyes on the empty country road in front of them and his foot firmly on the accelerator, so that the speedometer stays well above the speed limit at all times. For a brief moment, his eyes jump to the dashboard screen, then back. In the passenger seat, Astrid's mother slowly wraps her long brown hair around her index finger and hums along with the radio. A song is playing that Astrid doesn't know and, as she just decided, doesn't like either. "I want to love you." A cold, artificial voice interrupts the music. "In 1 kilometer, please turn left," says the navigation system in an emotionless, feminine tone. After a short pause, the song continues. Astrid's mother unravels her hair from her finger. "We should have stayed on the highway." The driver doesn't answer. He just gives the navigation a quick look. The detour may have spared them the traffic jam, but changed the arrival time calculated by the computer, it has not. The song on the radio continues to play, and Astrid tries to decide whether she wants to pull out her smartphone or would rather annoy one of her brothers. Killian turns a page in his book. A short flash of light from Elijah's cell phone draws Astrid's eyes to the small device. The screen reflects some sunlight, but she can still see that two characters are fighting each other. Maybe she should pull her phone out too, but unlike her little brother, she didn't have the foresight to download her series, and the mobile network is too bad to stream. Her mother finally stops playing with her own hair and turns to the three in the back seats with a smile on her face. "Somehow, I still can't believe my little girl is an adult." Astrid smiles. "Come on, Mom. It's been almost 2 months since the last day of school." "What?" "It just feels kind of weird that my kids are finishing school one by one." She leans back in her seat and puts her arms on the armrest. Elijah pretends he didn't hear what she said through the headphones, but grimaces and grinds his teeth, something his big brother, who just looked up from his book, notices. With a smile on his face, he lowers his paperback and gives Elijah a push. "You still have a long way to go till you get to taste the sweet taste of never going to school again." Elijah is pushed around in his seat, but tries to ignore his brother at first. It takes a few seconds before he suddenly looks up from his cell phone. "Wait, Killian, you still go to school?" "Police Academy isn't school. I haven't had a real math problem in years. And I get to shoot guns," he replies somewhat theatrically. "I want to." The song on the radio stops mid-sentence, and for a second there is silence. Then the beep starts. The high-pitched sound is louder than the previous song and pierces their ears. Astrid starts, Killian almost drops his book, and Elijah looks up from his smartphone with a blink. The shrill noise is followed by a pause, and then the voice of a male moderator. "We interrupt this program. This is an emergency." The man sounds like he's about to have a heart attack, but is still doing his best to keep his voice as monotonous and mechanical as that of the navigation. Another loud beep. "Dad, what's going on?" asks Elijah, but is silenced by a shh from his father. The noise ends, and the moderator continues. "I repeat, this is an emergency. The following message is being transmitted at the request of the federal government. This is not a test. A nuclear attack has been commenced against this country and or one of its allies. One or more nuclear warheads may be inbound. The number of casualties and the extent and origin of the attack have not been identified. If a fallout shelter is nearby, proceed there immediately. Otherwise, please do not leave your homes. Further information will be provided to you as soon as possible over the following frequency: 76.155/85.955 megahertz. Meanwhile, keep calm and await further instructions. This message will repeat. For a moment, Astrid's father takes his eyes off the road to roll them. For Christ's sake, I'm always up for a little comedy, but that has to be a joke. The radio beeps once more, and this time the driver gives his wife a brief look. Could you, Astrid's mother is already stretching her finger out for the radio's touchscreen. The push of a button makes the map disappear and pulls up a list of radio stations. The woman swipes across the screen, and the square with the name and logo of the station slides to the left, to be replaced by another. The moderator's voice falters as the radio tunes. Then the same monotonous man continues his speech undeterred on the other channel. They all stare at the radio. Papa, what is... Before Astrid's little brother can finish his sentence, his father interrupts him. It has to be some kind of accident. This can't be real. Everyone is silent. Her mother swipes the screen again and again. Every time her finger presses against the digital display, the device jumps to the next station. The emergency broadcast is interrupted every time, and every time, after a short pause, it resumes play on the next frequency. Astrid doesn't understand what's happening. Who would attack them like this? The Russians? The Chinese? North Korea? What reason could they possibly have? Astrid's train of thought is interrupted by her mother. Here, this is the station it told us to switch to. The radio retunes one last time. Another moderator in the same monotonous voice says, "This is the emergency frequency. Please stand by." Killian says, "What the hell do they mean? First it says the world is about to end, then we're supposed to just stand by?" Elijah looks confused. The only thing he knows about nuclear war is that it's a bad thing that results in desert car chases and leather-clad bodybuilders. "Papa, what does this mean?" "It means we'll be staying with your grandparents for a while." The man turns his attention back to the road. Everyone else pulls out their smartphones. Astrid opens her messenger app. No new notifications, so she texts her best friend, "Did you notice? A nuclear strike." Just as she's typing the next message, "Are you all right?" she notices that there's no tick under the first one. Not even one. A quick look at the top right corner of her cell phone screen tells her that all 4 bars are full. Best possible reception. She should be online, yet her phone can't send anything. Killian tries to Google something, but the page doesn't open. The loading circle just rotates endlessly, even though he too should have internet access. Elijah is the only one of the 3 who puts his device down and looks outside. The sun still shines from the sky, but dark, almost pitch-black clouds swallow her yellow rays. The gray mass comes out of nowhere and covers the world like a veil. Mist, barely visible, falls from above like black ink in clear water, and with the fog, the radio starts to act up. At first, it's just a minor glitch, a faint crackling behind the monotonous voice of the moderator. Astrid's mother says, "Grandma is not answering her phone." Her husband reassures her. They're probably already in the basement and just can't hear it. A burst of static erupts from the radio, silencing the moderator and replacing his monotonous voice with crackling. Astrid's father looks at the device. "What the?" The lights in the car slowly start glowing without being turned on, and the dashboard display glitches. "What's wrong with the car?" Astrid's mother shouts. Suddenly the lights flash, the engine stutters and dies. Everything goes dark and the radio's silent. For a split second, all is quiet. Astrid's father hits the brakes. The rest of them scream while the force of the deceleration pushes them into their seatbelts. The tires screech, but Astrid's father keeps the car under control. With a shudder, it comes to a complete stop. The pounding of her heart is the only thing Astrid can hear. Her voice is shrill. "What the hell was that?" Her father grips the steering wheel so hard that his fingernails dig into the black leather and his knuckles turn white. His body looks stiff as a board, but his voice sounds calm and collected. "I don't know. We must have been hit by one of those impulses that nuclear weapons produce, or something, I don't know." Astrid's mother just sounds helpless and panicked. "What do we do now?" The man grinds his teeth, looks out the window, and takes off his seatbelt. "Come on, get out. If the EMP was strong enough to disable the car, a nuke must have gone off somewhere nearby or above us. We have to find shelter before the radiation reaches us. The car won't protect us." With a whirring sound, the belt disappears back into the seat. The man grabs the handle, takes a deep breath, and opens the door. The thick fog falls into the car like water. The dark mass glides over his body, flows into the vehicle, and with it come the voices. Soft whispers from the void, like an emotionless chorus. Astrid's entire body becomes stiff. She watches the moving, growing, and whispering mass. The cloud flows over her like a breath of cold air, and the darkness swirls and twirls like arms coming in for a hug. She does not dare breathe. Through closed lips, she whispers, "What is that?" Her father doesn't respond. He just pauses for a moment. His hand reaches for the door as if to close it, but then he gets out without another word. More and more fog pours into the car, and when her older brother opens his door, Astrid does the same. The dark mass pours over her legs and sends a strange tingling sensation through her. Her lungs start to burn. She's running out of air, but fear paralyzes her chest. Instinct wins. She takes a breath. The mist has neither taste nor scent, but feels cold, almost like breathing ice. Astrid can feel it slide down her throat and fill her lungs. A shiver runs through her body. The thought that it might be a chemical weapon comes to mind, but she doesn't dare voice that thought, for if it's true, they are already dead. As soon as Astrid gets up, the fog envelops her completely, and the whispers grow louder. Her gaze glides over the edge of the forest and the road, but she can hardly make out either in the dark mass. Although there is no wind, the fog swirls and falls through the air as if in slow motion. "What in God's name is this stuff?" Killian asks. He waves his hand around as if that would somehow clear the fog. Instead, it seems to almost follow his hand, like it's trying to cling to it. Their father tears his eyes away from the swirling mass of darkness. He sounds confident, but everyone can hear the slight tremor behind his loud words. "I have no freaking idea, but we have to get out of here." Quickly they follow the road, and soon their car is swallowed by the darkness behind them. The fog grows thicker with every step. The whispers follow them. Like the static did with the radio, they disturb their thoughts, insignificant and yet distracting and captivating. Astrid is shivering from fear and from the sudden cold. We should have stayed in the car. The dark clouds obscure her father more and more. She sees his dark figure take a quick look back. The car is neither radiation-proof nor airtight, so at least we have a chance. If this stuff kills us, then at least we die quickly from a high dose instead of slowly in the car. Astrid's heart sags, and her entire body becomes stiff. Fear paralyzes her. She doesn't want to die. Panicked, she stops and looks left and right. Nothing but fog. She holds her breath, but after a few seconds her body forces her to pull in another breath of corrupted air. Never in her life has she felt so helpless or been so scared. The fog obscures her view, but it is the disembodied voices that drown her thoughts. Astrid isn't sure whether she is just imagining it or already suffering from radiation poisoning, but the fog seems to be exhausting her strength. Her muscles feel like they're flowing out of her skin like water. Astrid searches for the silhouette of her father, but it has disappeared into the darkness. Her mother and brothers are gone too. She wants to call out, "Where are you?" But the words get stuck in her throat. Whether from the fog or from the fear that makes her teeth chatter, her mouth fails to produce a single word. She will spend her last moments alone in this supernatural darkness. Astrid exhales and utters a mixture of a low whimper and a barely audible scream. Her senses are so clouded that she no longer knows in which direction the others have gone. Panicked, she runs. Too late does she realize that the soft ground beneath her feet can't be asphalt. Before the woman has a chance to turn, one of her feet steps into nothing. Astrid gives off a squeaky cry and falls down the slope, her body sliding over leaves and breaking sticks on her way down. Her arms aren't fast enough to catch her fall, and she slams face first into the dirt. The impact should hurt, but she feels little more than a dull thud. "Papa?" She croaks from the floor. The word echoes through the mist. It takes all her strength to get back on her feet. She has no idea where she is or where she's going. There's only one thought in her mind: push on. So, even though the air feels like a gel, she continues. The pure gray is as crushing as the deepest abyss, and the voices are getting louder and louder. They drown out and suffocate her thoughts, like the crackling on the radio did with the moderator. There are only the meaningless whispers and the void. Her mind is torn away. Suddenly, Astrid is no longer herself. Fear is replaced by anger and despair by the excitement of battle. A wounded man lies in front of her. A blade was stabbed in his stomach. "Thanks, Novi," he says in a foreign tongue. She places her pale hand on the bloody stain, and golden threads run like veins through her skin and then through that of the wounded man. But the wounded man dissolves into black mist. Everything crumbles to black fog, and the void consumes the world. Thank you for listening to this Ember and Sparks production. Click the box on the left to listen to the next chapter, or the box on the right to see an overview of all chapters available for this story. Check out the links in the description to listen to this audiobook without interruption. And before you go, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon to never miss a new story. See you soon.